Hey, fellas. Just playing around here with the stream, still getting used to this process, still configuring things like the volume, still installing things like quiet mouse. We are getting pop filters installed, things like that. And so you guys, unfortunately, are a bit of the canaries in the coal mine here. We're going to find out kind of how things go. I guess a guinea pig is a little better analogy here. We're preparation for streaming a little bit later this month. I'm just going to do three different streaming situations here, sort of wandering late in this practice campaign of mine, this Asteroid campaign. I think you guys can hear me okay. Again, still working on some of the audio components. And this is, there's not going to be a huge amount of complicated processes here. I'm basically hoping to have a couple battles. And again, continue to sort of tweak some of the final settings here before we do it more regularly next month. Probably sometime in November, I will be streaming once or twice a week. We will do some streaming for our new Asteroid campaign. And this process here is just sort of me practicing the Asteroid campaign, right? We are getting used to some of these processes. Again, I just am not an experienced player at the early game campaign. Now you are jumping in a bit if you guys are following the practice campaign. This is an episode or two sort of ahead of where you are. In fact, none of this is going to make sense if you just watched. I think the last one was called Vassalage to an Imbecile. It's not going to be very linear. There's another couple episodes that I'm going to release in the next week or so for that. I'm trying not to inundate the channel with too much content, right? Last time there's 5, 6, 7 episodes in 4 days. Guys are like, damn, I didn't even notice this was posted. So I'm trying not to blow you guys out of the water with content. At the same time, I'm trying to provide sort of a constant level of content. This is kind of a new feature here. We are experimenting with a few different mods before I begin a campaign later on. And one of the things I'll be experimenting with is this extra fast forward button. This mod is called Better Time, I believe it's called. Of course, we're going to be experimenting with several mods. In fact, I think I have a mod called Better Camels or Ultimate Camels or some shit like that. Of course, I don't have any of the camels yet, but there's essentially, I thought I bought one. There's essentially better camels for you to ride, which seems very appropriate for this Asteroid campaign. I've got the chat up this time, and I'm doing it in an unorthodox manner. I have just an old laptop next to me here. So I can see the chat, but I think you guys are 30 or maybe even 60 seconds delayed. I don't know if that's my fault or Google or just, my technological ineptitude. Again, I'm an old dog here learning new tricks. I had a Discord site set up for like 2 weeks and nobody could get in because I didn't have the settings set up correctly. So old dog, new tricks here. And Sironia, I want to say I've never defended Sironia, but we may have a little castle or a city defense here as part of this episode. There's a small garrison there and a good-sized militia. I don't think I want to attack the Khazate in the open here. I think I'll take a look kind of to see what the landscape looks like. I like to do this. I figure it's a little bit like what generals would do back in the day. They would look at their situation and say, okay, this is fucked. I'm not going to be able to take the Khazate on with this weak early stage campaign army of ours in the open like this. So we will retreat, cowards, right? Discretion is the better part of valor. And we will get into the citadel. Now I'm going to... have they already started? Okay, they've already started. What I wanted to do is wait for some daylight here. We'll have a little siege defense. Now, it should be a pretty easy siege defense. As you can see, they have 400 troops. I have 600. To wrap that point up, though, I can glance over at the chat and say, hey, what's up, fellas? Appreciate all the enthusiasts here. All you guys really been encouraging me to continue to do this. This is not real comfortable for an old dog to be doing streaming to a bunch of young kids. You guys are like, hey, you don't have a Twitch account yet, and you don't have this and that, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about twitching, but I'm slowly catching up to this process here. So we are going to break in here and help the defenders. Again, don't expect anything too epic today. These are just we are just more than anything, I'm sort of getting used to this interface and playing along with you fellas, right? Watching the chat occasionally, and then essentially trying not to do stupid shit in the game because I'm watching the chat. Now this This character is leveled up far beyond what I expected. I don't know if this is normal. Somebody said part of the reason that this guy leveled so quickly in our campaign, what is this, about 3 or 4 years in? I assume part of the reason he leveled so quickly is that you know, we were winning big battles on a regular basis, right? Right away, we were belligerent, attacking people. Of course, you haven't seen that yet, so I guess this is unfortunately a little bit of a spoiler. Of course, eventually we went independent from the Aserai, and actually I don't want to say too much more about it in case you guys are sort of enjoying this pre-campaign. The bottom line, though, is that we've been fighting battles left and right, and of course, when you fight battles left and right, you gain a lot of experience. We got this guy with this absolutely terrible haircut. It says, well, see, he's not married. I mean, who's surprised, right? I'm a bald guy, by the way, and if you're bald, you get rid of that shit, right? You get rid of the sides. This is not a haircut that is, maybe that is appropriate in the year, 1089, but today, if you have that haircut, I would strongly encourage you to embrace your inner baldness. All right, so we've stalled enough here. Let's go ahead and get inside this castle and have a little castle defense. I am not running the battle size mod, so I have no idea how this is going to go, and I don't know if I've ever defended this city, which is part of the fun of this campaign for me. I started off playing Sturgia and Botania, so I have a lot of experience in the north and the northwest part of the map, and almost none in this portion of the map. Although, you know what, I do remember actually sieging this city once, and it was really interesting because there's all this layout over here. We had all kinds of fighting in these back alleys and stuff like that. It's actually one of those episodes of what I consider sort of the most underrated episodes on the channel. It was like an hour-long siege, and we had to just systematically blast our way from this right side to the left. And I wish that episode got a lot more views, just because I think guys would be missing out without seeing it. Anyways, that little pump aside here, we will start laying out some units here. So like usual, of course, most of you guys watching the channel, you know what I typically try to do in a siege defense. I identify the potential weaknesses, potential problems, and then true to my nature as a first responder, you go in and basically try to mitigate emergencies as they pop up. Now, it really does seem to me that the ram and the ladders are right next to each other. Usually when there's a hole like this, right, you can see that hole there. Usually that's where the siege tower sets up. And of course I want to sort of prepare for that, but it seems like they would be right on top of each other if that's the case. So we're going to try to take advantage of that, right? We have some angles here to put some archers. We will definitely try to fuck with the enemy's plan to do that. I've got some of these divisions get mixed up sometimes. I don't think, oh, you know what? 1, 2, 3. We do have the battle size mod. I did not think we had the battle size mod loaded. Look at how many units we have. We have 247 archers, or 247 infantry and 368 archers. So we have a ton of fucking troops here, which will probably make this unbelievably easy. So let's stop wasting your time here and let's start doing some basic shit here. We will just stick a gigantic archer corps down here, somewhere down here on the waterfront. Good luck getting up those ladders, right? These guys are going to get smoked with 7,000 arrows. That whole side will be protected well there. I got some other archer divisions. This is actually kind of absurd how much defense we have, how many different units, but this is a problem constantly in defense. People ask me all the time, what makes a good city for defense? Well, having places to put your troops make for a good defense. Look at these poor bastards down here. I mean, these are infantry, but if these are archers, this flaming fucking building is in their way. Of course, a good city would allow them to stand on the roof or something like that, because if I put these archers like this, these guys are going to get smoked from the enemy units down in the valley there. So this is not a good city defense, right? You can just sort of see there's all these fucking buildings snarling everything all up here. There's actually an argument to be made of just trying to protect the gate here and then sort of deal with the enemy as they come around the corner. And I think we'll sort of do that. We will what I call punt this side a little bit here. We're going to leave a handful of units here just so that there's some protection, but we will spend the vast majority of our resources towards the front gate, right? Your gate is where you're going to get a blowout. Your gate is where you're going to have thousands of enemies just storming through because of the size of the hole. And these side ones here, I think we have all these archers kind of spread out here. And again, these buildings are in the way, right? I can't get... Oh shit, look at that. Some of these guys can get on the roof. That's not terrible. But these archers here will spray the enemy a little bit there with fire. And of course we can stick a couple of infantry corps. If these guys got shields especially, see these are shock troops. I don't want those guys there. We want those guys at the gate. This first division, there should be more shields. I know there's a lot of configuration here. I'm going to have all of this stuff wired in by the time we get... Man, it's like I have mostly shock troops. Although there are some guys in there that have shields. Let's try that there. We will keep these guys... Those guys penned up. Let's pen them up here, in fact. You see, we got all these archers in the valley here that are going to be shooting at them. I think I can get even more archers here. We will get all of this tricked out by the time that the actual campaign starts so that these episodes flow, right? That's part of what's going on here is I'm getting comfortable. I'm the 4-year-old kid with no training wheels. Just making sure technologically things work, making sure you guys can actually understand me. And look at how shitty this is, man. How are you supposed to defend this shit? I want to get units up here, but there's nowhere to put these guys, right? So I can try to like squeeze some kind of into the margins here, but with the way that the UI works, right, you really can't get units spread in here like you want. So some of these castles are just dog shit bad, right? And there is an argument for a castle like this to be just use the AI, right? The AI will do a decent job in some castles of putting troops where you want. And of course I sucked up that division there. Let's see if we can put the 7th down here. It just almost nowhere to spread. All these guys back here can't see shit. I would say on a 1 to 10 scale, this castle is like a 3 or 2 for defending. Some are brilliant. In fact, I have one coming up this weekend that I'm excited for. It's Jogurus Castle. I'm probably brutalizing the name. And it's close to this. In the Southern Empire area, in the Khazate area, it is the most badass castle for defense. I'm excited for you guys to witness that. But of course, you guys are like, hey, I want to witness some shit today. Do some fighting, motherfucker. So we're gonna fly in here. In fact, pretty soon, if I can't come up with a coherent plan, we're going to do all of this just on the fly. I'm just going to put some units in here and say, okay, start this shit, and we'll see what we can do. This is a really weak division, so we'll put them back a little ways. That helps with their line of sight. If you put these guys here, these guys will get shot to pieces. You see all these guys wearing fucking a shirt. They have no armor. We will put those guys back a bit, and what that does is only the archers that are really far away can hit them. That'll help those guys out a lot. All right, you know what? We're just going to fly into this shit. I got skirmishers here. I don't even have a good infantry division for the front, but we're going to roll with this. Let's switch the 3rd and the 2nd. Put the 3rd in the square. The skirmishers over here to pelt them with javelins. I don't think there's going to be any enemy over here at all, right? Because I think both of their axes are over here. So this is a really unusual keep defense, and we're just going to do the best we can here. Now, it's going to be messy. In fact, I think I'll ride around on my horse. I've got this giant, long line of troops here that are sort of worthless because they can't see shit. And that's so much a part of castle defense, right? Is good line of sight. Guys ask, like I said, all the time, what makes a good castle for defense? And the way I defend castles or cities, what makes for good defense is space. And the couple that come to mind right away is Amitatis. Of course, I've had several defenses on the channel showing Amitatis. Veron Castle and the Imperial castles that look like Veron Castle are all elite for defense because they have that sloping courtyard that aims down at the enemy. We will also speed this shit up. We'll do some of this little RTS mod here. I've already wasted you guys' time with some of the preset up here. These guys are blocking pretty well. But Amitatis is a really good city. Tile is a pretty good city for defense. Of course, that's one we had recently. These guys are going to blow up that siege tower. Bye-bye. So now the enemy only has ladders. This is, going to be a relatively anticlimactic siege defense here, right? The enemy's pouring over here, and they're just going to get skewered. I can bring one of these infantry divisions. I guess I better not get carried away with this fast speed, right? All of a sudden, you're like shot by 20 arrows. I'm trying to find a nice balance between speeding things up and then also actually playing coherently instead of just running as fast as I can and getting shot to death. So we'll stick an infantry division right here, right, just on the stairs. And the reason you do that is that so the enemy gets bottled up right here on the stairs, and then all of these archers can just shoot the shit out of them. Right, that's one of the just fundamental things about a keep defense. But like I said, this is going to be something that I sort of deal with during the campaign. The enemy has no chance to win in this battle, and I don't really want to show these on a regular basis to fellas, right? I figure you guys, your time is valuable. There's plenty of other YouTube channels out there that are showing interesting content, and so I'm very reticent to show you guys battles that I consider just mediocre, right? They're just uninteresting, but we'll see, right? You know, we'll kind of see how it goes. A lot of guys expressed interest in seeing every minute of the campaign, which blows my mind, that you want to see me like selling loot and shit like that. So we will try to find some sort of balance in between showing you guys too much and also not showing you enough detail, right? Some of the details. The enemy here has no chance. I am going to speed this up. I got the 4th Division here. Come with me, boys. The enemy's going to come down that ladder well there, be totally fucking penned up and shot to death by archers. The front gate, I'm not even paying attention to it, and that is one of the weaknesses of this city because it's so spread out here. I can stick those guys right there. We'll slow this down a little bit. One option I have is I can play with like this kind of speed, and that's something you guys can definitely leave feedback on, right? I'm not able to look at the chat right now, but I have gone back. The first live stream we did a week ago or 4 days ago or something like that. What I was able to do is basically go back and kind of see what you guys thought for feedback, right? Couldn't hear. Guys are like, some of the guys are like, the mouse is scratchy, I can't hear shit, whatever it may be, right? I can't really look. Here we go, we'll kill some of our guys, right? You know I'm famous for that. I can't really look while I'm doing this, otherwise we'll just kill every single one of our units. But you see what kind of a bad death trap this is. I'll just speed it up again here. We'll do a little RTS mode. If anybody gets down here, it's just absolute prison rape. You know, there's 40 or 50 archers. Now, there's a lot of death spam. That's undoubtedly at the main gate, but because of the distance between here and the main gate, I can't do anything about it, right? I've just kind of got to let those guys do their autonomous shit. I can charge with the skirmishers. If you remember, the skirmishers were over there by the main gate. We'll send those guys in, but this is going to be an absolute run-of-the-mill keep defense. I need to turn the battle size mod off. I'm going to use this a little bit like RBM during the campaign, and that's to say periodically. Because if I use it all the time, I think there'll be a combination of 2 negative outcomes. The positive thing, of course, will be massive epic battles. I don't have my frames per second little indicator up in the corner. I try to get rid of that just because it messes sort of with the immersion. But I'm running probably at 50, 60 frames a second right now at 4K. Now I know the stream is probably not 4K. Look at my skirmishers are heading out. My attack dogs, normally I'd be thinking about those guys, but of course I'm focused on narrating here with you fellas. This siege is totally over. Like, the enemy's just being assaulted outside. In fact, let's just F1, F3 this and try to move on to, we'll do the old Sally attempt out the door. So getting back to the battle size mod, right? This is a mod that allows you to have up to 2,000 units on the battlefield at one time. And right now, of course, there's only about 1,000, but especially in siege defense, there's a caveat to the 2,000. The 2,000 includes horses. So if you're in a battle against a lot of Aserai versus Aserai, for example, there might only be 1,500 on the battlefield at once, right? Because you have an enormous amount of horses, and those guys count as units, right? So that's a little bit of a caveat. That said, you can get some just massively epic battles with the battle size mod. And just like RBM, where there's some guys who really want to see it, and of course I like the sort of refreshing change that you get from a slightly different feel, whether it's RBM or the battle size mod. You know, we will play around with it a little bit, but for the most part we're going to run battles on sort of normal, and what I mean by normal is you know, the normal 1,000. And I know some of you console fellas can't play with 1,000. At the minimum we will have is the normal setting, max 1,000. And then we'll run this battle size mod, but there are more crashes. You pay for that epic nature. Sometimes it gets a little juddery or a little stuttery because there's just so many damn units on the battlefield. There can be other graphical issues. And of course it does, I think it unbalances battles because the defender tends to get more troops than they normally would if you were using just a regular mod, right? So there's some reasons not to use it. And so just like the RBM, where a lot of guys either don't like RBM, can't use it for whatever the reason, we will not. Look at these guys. I think they're running over to the ladder and they're like, well, we can't get through the front gate. Let's go ahead and charge in here. We're going to speed this up again. We've got archers now coming out in big tranches. The enemy is just getting sprayed with arrows, and away they go here. Just like RBM, I will probably mix in if I had to guess, out of every 10 episodes, hour-long episodes, give or take, we will probably run one episode with RBM and one episode with the battle size mod, right? These sort of extracurricular mods where you can see just like a run-of-the-mill crushing defense here, where we'll have just a little extracurricular activity with these mods. None of this matters here because I'm not playing this campaign seriously. We will go siege a city if nothing else happens. I might go siege Tile with this army, and we'll try to have at least one sort of interesting siege assault here for this episode today. I've got about 40 minutes before I've got to run some errands later today. Mods I'm working on, right? I am going to continue to sort of talk about mods as I lead up to the campaign. I want to use mods that you guys want to see or like and appreciate. Of course, almost everybody agrees that like an RTS mod is just an essential for a campaign like this, so we'll be definitely using that. But then things like better camels, right? I don't know if it's going to overpower this character to have these camels running around. The camels get armor and stuff like that. They can't jump still, but you stand way higher than everybody on the battlefield. And so theoretically your head is harder to hit with somebody's spear and stuff like that. There's advantages, but the camels also do massive charge damage. So it's that's sort of really interesting element to use that. And I've always felt it really strange. Look at this guy just sits here. I could have just killed that guy. That the camels are so weak, right? They make horses strong, right? Especially if you have like the Vadar hot blood or Vidar hot blood or however it's pronounced. But then the camels are just absolutely worthless. It's kind of strange that they unbalanced elements of like that. Again, this is that. It's called Better Time. I'll be talking a little bit about that. Oh, and speaking of difficulty, fellas, I just made a composition video of making Bannerlord more difficult, because those are also mods that I'm going to be using, of course, in a Bannerlord campaign. What do we got here? Try to multitask here. Talk about this mod here. I can't actually tell. They got fire catapults. Fuck it. We're just going to do very routine stuff here. We're going to build 2 siege towers. We're just going to do some brain dead tactics here while I talk about these mods. So we're going to be running at a minimum some mods that make the game more difficult. One of them that I'm probably going to run is called Powerful Heroes, where I can double or triple the amount of hit points that the enemy lords have. I've always found it incredibly anticlimactic. You get this big clash between you and Dirthert or somebody else like that, unquit on the battlefield, and you're like, yeah, let's do this shit, and you swing your sword at him once, and he's just like, oh. It's just like, man, that was so anticlimactic. We've all been grown up on movies where everything is epic, and whether it's Troy, these 4-minute battles of Achilles and Hector, and then you get a battle in Bannerlord where the enemy lords just crumple. Of course, they don't even have a lot of skills, so we'll be using something called Powerful Heroes, which I detail in this episode, probably coming up tomorrow or the next day. Regia wants some. But we're also going to use something called Strengthen AI. I've got to configure exactly sort of how to use it. It's a highly configurable mod, and what Strengthen AI does, it does tons of different things. The biggest thing it does, though, is it makes enemy lords very powerful. In the episode, I actually shows a little bit of a teaser. I was able to make the enemy's lord level up their skills to something like 300 in a week. Right, which is obviously that's suboptimal, right? Because in a week you're running around with your rags as a looter, fighting looters, and all of a sudden all the enemy lords have 300 skill. Nobody wants that. But the bottom line is we're going to add some mods to make things more difficult. I'm going to do some configuration and things like that. Live with no viewer swear filter. Yeah, no swearing, or swear away, boys. Again, on the chat, I'm sure YouTube will freak out too. Let's moderate. No racism, please, at all. I don't even want to be like, I don't want anybody to be like, fuck Iran and stuff like that. Please don't do stuff like that. The global situation is shit. These stupid fucking monkeys can't stop fighting. And what I mean by monkeys is all of humankind. Let's limit the sort of arguing with each other, right? We're going to have some good-natured conversations here. Hopefully, I can't stop every single fight, but I would ask you guys to play nice, and swear away, right? Everybody knows, of course, that I embrace that shit. I think as long as you're not using swearing at somebody, like going to the chat and being like, Javier Gonzalez, F you, right? Let's not do stuff like that. But gonna take over this fucking city here and brutalize the inhabitants here, and just bash the shit out of the Khazate. So that all that said about the chat, about the difficulty, I'm going to now focus a little bit on this citadel so you guys have some coherent, non-rambling component of today's episode. Again, I'm kind of glancing at the chat, but I really don't have the capacity to both comment, and come up with a coherent strategy for sieging this citadel, and actually perform maneuvers here, right? I've reached my span of control limit. You guys know I'm a fan of span of control. In this case, it's very valid here. I just cannot multitask this many different things. I will talk about span of control and other cerebral components during the game because it has a lot to do with tactics, right? We're running eight groups here, and the traditional span of control, this is a theory that was derived from Sir Ian Hamilton in the early 1900s in England. And it relates to warfare that basically says a commander can only pay attention to so much before he starts to lose control and forget units, just like I had that division running out of the gate by themselves earlier in that battle. Especially when you're giving commentary, you're just not going to be able to give good, coherent narration on a consistent basis, right? So we're going to do the best we can here. And I will talk about some of that stuff. Most of that kind of stuff I will be talking about during sort of the slow moments, right, where I'm adding some perks or running between cities and stuff like that. Here we go. Now we got a tower over here. That's when we'll talk a little bit more about some of the extracurricular stuff. All right, so you guys have seen my strategy. If you've watched any of my siege attempts, almost always we try to apply pressure at multiple points. And I like the old Sun Tzu approach where it's attack some area first, apply a bunch of pressure, and then as soon as the enemy is getting a bunch of defenders there, we will attack at our real and intentional spot, right? So what I'm going to do in this episode is actually we will do it numerically. The 4th, this way I can remember it easier, the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and I'm just going to spread these guys out in nice big arcs. I don't use these little whatever you want to call them, covers, these little blinds for the archers, because they don't use them very well in the first place, and I want concentrated fire. So we're going to get a massive amount of skirmishers, archers, and infantry over here. And then on this other side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take only the 4th archers. So this will be the first, second, and 4th, and we will apply a little bit of pressure over here to these siege ladders with the idea that hopefully we can get a lot of the enemy defenders over to that side. And then on the other side here, of course, we will have our main thrust with the siege tower, and see if we can't, burst a hole over here. Now, something I would normally do if I was paying more attention, if I was more comfortable, right? I'm still over here slightly butterflies because I know there's like 15 fellas or whatever watching me live like anybody. This is uncomfortable at first. I assure you this will get easier for me and I'll be more comfortable with it the more I do. You guys are the guinea pigs. You get to watch me stagger about here. But I was going to say, what I would normally do, of course, is you would build trebuchets beforehand and destroy some of these fire catapults. We didn't destroy any of them, so there's a very good chance here that our siege tower gets blown up. And of course, if that happens, this siege is going to become, I don't want to say impossible, but extremely difficult. So I'm going to put myself, the 6th Corps is fine because I'm going to rush those units up. Can still deploy siege engines. I must have taken off one of the, I don't know what I did. Let's go. Yeah, I don't know why it's saying that. Maybe I canceled one of them or something like that. So all I'm going to do here is drag this 3rd Infantry, the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. The 1st, 2nd, and 4th are on the other side. And if the enemy was guarding numerically, of course they would be guarding this side, right? We're bringing the bulk of our troops over here, but a lot of times the enemy will guard where your units are actually getting into the citadel. So if your units are absolutely storming up one of the ladders, or you get a siege tower up, they will bring reinforcements over. I've watched this with the RTS mode, and they will guard that location more heavily, at which point, of course, you can just get in somewhere else, right? This is just Sun Tzu here. You can't jump off that horse. See, a camel, I bet, could jump right over that shit. Doesn't need any water. I guess my horse is, it's realistic mode, I guess, today. I don't know if I can get around any of that. It's like a total barrier here for my horse. All right, so 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we will try to, 1st, 2nd, and 4th, we will try to apply a little bit of pressure. I have no archers. You see how much I've paid attention. In fact, let's try to drag the 5th all the way from the other side. Yeah, so siege ladders here. As soon as we get these siege ladders up, I should be able to get some of these units to start charging up here, and I think that'll apply some pressure. They're fucking shooting at my horse, motherfuckers. Who's shooting? I see you fucks. And we'll get the second. Yeah, they're knocking my horse all over the place. Easy, boy, easy. Your horse will start to tilt out. Come on, boys, get up here. Fucking assholes. Oh, see, I just heard the explosion. That's definitely the siege tower collapsing. So, little change of plan here, right? We're going to send these guys up and kind of see what they can do. I'm going to stick the 5th Division in there so they have an archer corps support. Obviously, if they have no cover support at well, they're going to get absolutely skewered. And now our attention shifts to the ram. And the question is, at this stage, is the ram going to survive, right? They're going to be pounding the ram. Oh, they've destroyed both. So, we're in horrendous shape here. I'm going to actually still try to play this out. This would be suicide normally. Of course, what you would do here in a regular siege is you would back out, you would build your siege again, and start over. Let's see if we can just brute force our way up here with nothing but massive skirmishers and archers. It probably won't work, but we have a lot of archers on the field right now, and we'll see what we can do here. Right? We're basically going to just spread them out all over the place down here so that every single Khazate who sticks their head up, and look at all those guys have no cover, no protection at all. Those guys are going to get absolutely smoked. A lot of them are militia. There are a lot of sieges that have weak spots like that, right? Where there's just, I don't know, the siege defenders, and of course, more accurately, the dipshit at Tail Worlds who designed it was just asleep at the helm, right? This is a horrendous defense. The enemy is just fish in a barrel. Even though they're the defender, they're the ones that are actually in worse shape here, right? We're going to get our skirmishers up here. And as soon as our archers get in place, I mean, we have hardly any of our archers in place yet. They're just going to blast a hole. Now, look at the power bar, right? The power bar says you're fucked. And, of course, we have one access ladders for this keep, right? This is probably not going to work, but we're still going to try. This episode doesn't mean anything. Of course, we can always back out. If we start to fail here, we can just back out. Shit, I'll just rage quit and tell you guys, fuck off. Now, you know, of course, when we're playing the actual campaign, we won't be save scumming or anything like that, right? I will deal with catastrophic things as they happen, which means starting over. We did that in the practice campaign. We tried a ridiculous challenge and got defeated. I'm going to play the game like that. I don't know what's going on over here, but it's giving me fucking flashbacks to 9/11. Fucking troops are leaping all over the place and shit. I need more units up there. I'm getting a little bit of stuttering. You guys could probably see the very slight change in the frame rate. Most of that, I've learned, is pathfinding. It's definitely not my CPU struggling, right? This is, even though there's a massive amount of units on the field right now, most of these little stutterings, that's due to pathfinding, right? The AI is trying to figure out, well, how the fuck do I get 900 units jammed up those ladder wells, right? And they're all getting fucking caught on the ladders and shit like that. It's not going particularly well for them. So I can't see, but I'm pretty sure that right behind this wall, there's a massive amount of enemy troops, probably archers, stacked up, you know, a mile high. And of course, the problem that presents is that this is a death sentence for our troops. So I'm going to go up there. I got a full health bar. Fuck it. We've got palace guards leading the way. Let's go, boys. And I'm going to drag. Let's get a mixed division. The 7th is mixed. The 5th, get some archers up there. We're going to try to blunt force our way up here, right? We're not actually going to fight too much unless we have to, but what we're going to try to do is get our units positioned. I might even try to get some of our units on the wall and make sort of an unorthodox attack here. Again, this is not something you would normally do. I expect to see exactly that. Just thousands of archers down there, right? Infantry is assaulting us. So here's what we're going to do, right? We're going to start just dragging units to the side here and bypass all this, right? We're going to try to get our units clear of this mauling. Try not to get stabbed to death here. Motherfuckers. But every single guy coming up that ladder well is getting absolutely trucked. In fact, I'm in bad shape here. Talk about being in a bad spot. I've got no units here to help me. And this episode's like, you know, classic. You guys are like, well, I didn't learn anything. I've done the same thing, right? You can't fucking take a siege with no access points. And indeed, we're not going to be able to. Now, sieges, of course, in this situation, you can just back out. You can say end battle, retreat, and then restart, right? This is obviously, as soon as that siege tower went down, I kind of said, like, that's a fatal situation. And I guess we'll just demonstrate real quickly what you would do in case someone's watching. A lot of you guys know what to do in this situation, but we'll go ahead and demonstrate this since that was a debacle. We will speed through continued siege preparations. You build trebuchets, and I actually don't mind being attacked here. We got plenty of cohesion. So if the Khazate want to have a battle, we can actually have some kind of logical, coherent battle here. But you guys see we're mortal. Anytime you set up a siege where you don't have trebuchets to wipe out their siege towers, not their siege towers, yeah, you're wiping out your own siege towers. Anytime they have fire catapults in particular, your siege towers will not make it. In fact, they were able to destroy the ram and the siege tower, which is a death sentence, of course, for attackers, right? You're trying to get up. We got some Khazate. You guys interested? Come get some. We're much rather fight in the open field at this stage. So we've got these two trebuchets up, and what we're basically trying to do here is unleash these trebuchets right about the time that the siege tower is ready. And what we want is not necessarily to break the walls here, but to destroy their fire catapults, right? Sometimes it's hard to click on them. Most trebuchets will one-shot a fire catapult, and then of course we're already going to start building more here because our siege tower will be built soon. This one's already getting damaged. Now, if they have superior engineers inside a city, this will be a difficult operation for you because they will destroy your trebuchets before you can destroy their siege towers, right? You get all these little perks. There's perks that increase like accuracy, increase hit points and whatnot. This is where siege comes in. And these are the kind of things I'll definitely talk about in the campaign. Realistically, the best strategy at this point would be to do this, right? And say move to reserve. That protects these guys. That way this next one can build. We will just, in fact, go through the whole process here. I'll build a catapult over here. You know, you're effectively just moving to reserve. And I know a lot of you guys didn't sign up for this, right? Feel free to X out. This is just a trial. This is mostly, honestly, just for me to sort of dial in the audio component of it, to figure out the chat process, to figure out how to live stream on a consistent basis. And if I make an ass of myself here, I'm perfectly okay with that. One of the things that's nice about life, once you get sort of ahead of steam in your confidence, as you get older, most guys get more confidence. You don't really care when you fuck up, right? Because humility is good for you. When you make mistakes, obviously that leads to future success. So mistakes here are fine. I'd rather make these mistakes in the trial run here. That trebuchet already ate shit. But we've got two trebuchets now. We'll have an onager here. There's still no sign of the Khazate, which is odd. And now we're just going to work on these fire catapults. I think one is down. Let's see here. Sometimes they're hard to see. I definitely know one is right there. And of course, unfortunately, you can't make these fucks aim. This onager here, I want it to attack only the fire catapults, and it's, you know, shooting at everything except the fire catapults. Now, the other thing that's kind of aggravating is it's very difficult to sort of tell where the catapults are. Right, this one I can kind of hold it there and it says fire catapult, but that's the one that they're building. What I want is one of these trebuchets to kill this fucking fire catapult up here. I want to be like, this one, dudes. This guy's finally turning there. It's almost like he heard me. And then he got destroyed, of course. Now, one fire catapult, you can give it a shot, right? You have a chance of getting in. But two, forget it. They will definitely destroy your siege tower and maybe potentially your ram. So one is a maybe. Two is zero chance. There's one down. Now we just need one more good shot here and we'll be in. If they have no fire catapults, most of the time, there we go, one lucky shot. And I paused it, of course, because I just want to examine what's going on. I've got an onager, I've got a trebuchet, I've got a siege tower, and the enemy, I think they have one siege device, but this is plenty good enough now. We're going to be able to get this on here and try to redeem ourselves, right? We're going to do the Dumb and Dumber. Just when I think you can't do something dumber, you do something and totally redeem yourself. So we're going to try the exact same thing here, just with this is the proper coherent plan. And undoubtedly I'm rushing because I'm like, well, these guys want instant action. Let's just rush through here and give it to them. First, second, and fifth on that side. Let's actually try to be coherent with our plan here. Let's take a deep breath and go, all right, we're going to just slow this down and do this like I would play a campaign if nobody was watching, right? And I learned this in the fire service, right? If you start to move quickly without thinking about what you're doing, usually bad things happen. So we've got the 5th, 3rd, 6th, and 8th, I think, over here now. I'll be able to see them And all I'm doing here is what I did before. You're just spreading these guys out. So any defenders that pop their head out, they catch a javelin in the eyeball. It's a beautiful morning here for a siege success after that first debacle. Of course, that's our main hope, is that siege tower arrives. Now we'll go over here to the other side. Let's just go collect all these units. They're already rushing up. So the enemy has no catapults as far as I can tell, right? So our guys are still lobbing in counter siege. This is just one of those things. Now, what's the disadvantage of this, right? You're spending all this time to build siege. Of course, in a campaign, a lot of people are going to experience an attack, right? The enemy's going to roar up against you with Monchug leading 1,800 Gazette, and you've got your 400. That's where tactics come in, right? We would have welcomed a battle here against 700-800 Gazette. And of course, that's one of the benefits you have with tactics. It's a huge benefit. The AI will very readily attack you in a situation where they can't win, or at least it's highly unlikely, if you have a good tactical tool bag, that they're going to win. They basically, the AI is like, oh, okay, we can win. We have 900 and they have 300. This is game over. And of course, if you have good tactics, it's a farming process, right? Your guys are just going to absolutely troll the enemy, just truck right through. We're getting our weightlifting in here. Our archers are up here to provide support. Let's just charge this first and second. Let's get these guys up there and apply pressure. This is, of course, what I was intending to do the first battle. Let's get some pressure over here, and then by about the time that this pressure is applied and these units are pouring up here, the 5th Corps is over, or that's the 5th, right? The 5th. The other side will be just about ready for an attack. And if it's really heavily defended, if there's 1,000 or 1,500 defenders, you want to apply pressure at the main gate too, right? You will get maybe an infantry division and send them right through, right? This gate is going to be down. Oh, shit. And then, of course, you want to send troops in there so the enemy gets even more pressure. And there are plenty of sieges I've been on where they defended the two sides, in other words, the ladders and the siege towers pretty well. And then I went and explored the gate, and there was like 12 guys there. So we just stormed through the middle. You really are doing whack-a-mole here. Anywhere where the enemy shows up, you give them this kind of a barrage, and they just melt away. And of course, if they're defending one area really, really well, just ignore it, right? Do this, apply some pressure, and then go to where it's easier to get in. So we've got the 3rd Infantry here. There's not very many guys in there. In fact, our army here is extremely archer heavy, which is still fine, right? Because these archers are smoking everything in sight. The death spam says it all. Mostly infantry here, and they're just getting shot to pieces. We'll send the 3rd up here. Oh, no, boys. Right here. And I may have to manually control some of these fucks. So when they start running away, like if you say attack, a lot of times they will go to the most obvious location or the least obvious location, right? They will literally run to like the siege ladders all the way on the other side. So you just take their unit and just point until you get that little blue thing. It looks like 2 gears, and that usually, I say usually, that usually will send those guys up. And of course they will then push a hole. Now, I like to leave at least 1 archer division here. I've got the 8th following me because I want to push archers and infantry up onto the keep. And the 7th is down there just providing cover fire, right? The infantry here that's trying to counter us is being pulverized. We're going to push these units forward. And, of course, I can get killed here too, right? The enemy still has a ton of defenders. They've got lots and lots of archers, right? So we're going to get in here, send some infantry down there on those boys right away. Bring the 8th up here, and at this stage, I don't need support from that 6th division anymore, so we're going to tell them to follow me too. Right? We're going to get out of line of sight here. In fact, I could tell the 6th, I want you standing over here, and that'll trigger all of those guys to try to get up here as soon as they can. Right? They're going to come slow because they're coming up the ladder, but obviously those guys will eventually make their way. And what we're going to do here is make so that their archers can't really attack those guys as they're coming up, right? And obviously we have a huge breach here. This siege defense is all but over. Oh, fuck off. Of course, I'm still playing the other campaign, and what I mean by that, the other campaign is sort of on hold. You will see why. That's a tiny teaser there. But I'm also doing a couple different side series, so I get into a lot of trouble when I think, that I'm just Zhu Vaughn and I can just shred these guys by myself, and this guy's got, 140 hit points. That's definitely going to be something that'll get better as I play the campaign, right? I'll get used to being mortal again instead of Zhu Vaughn, where he just cuts apart half their army by himself. And of course, we'll get better with Yuha here. I plan on doing a shield speared javelin character. I like fighting with my men in the trenches. I will ride a horse. I just think that's imperative for a good commander. But we will do very little pole arm or two-handed stuff, right? We will focus on the shield, sword, and javelin. Seems appropriate for the Aserai. So this keep siege is taken. I'm going to speed this up here because we're going to wrap this episode up soon. In fact, I've got to head off soon. You can see our siege is still obliterating these guys. We're going to speed it up here. All I'm doing at this stage is getting units with line of sight, right? So that any of the defenders, remember I said earlier, we don't have a lot of archers, or excuse me, a lot of infantry, right? So we're going to have to shove our way through in this siege defense with infantry, or with archers. As soon as these archers are up here, these poor bastards guarding the gate are going to get smoked. And this siege is over. In fact, let's do the old F1, F3, right? For the win. This is the best tactic. I've heard guys say that. F1, F3. You literally still hear people saying that shit. F1, F3. But one of the best parts, of course, of the campaign is we're going to be able to defend in all sorts of unique situations. We're going to be clearly exploring areas that I've never wandered around before. I've played a lot in the north, as I said before, the north and the northwest. This will be like a trip to Florida, or I guess not Czechoslovakia, like Greece, right? For you fellows that are in northern Europe, this will be like a tourist trip to Greece and to Turkey and to the other wonderful parts of Europe. So this is going to be a lot of fun for me. There's a lot of tactical opportunities. I'm already looking at this as the tactical commander saying, yeah, we've got elevated streets that have a view on that fucking access way for the ladders, right? This is where you want your archers in a big long line, because all of these guys, and they even put one of these little guards here, all these guys can just shoot straight down there. I think you could probably put guys up here and they'll have a line of sight. It's going to be a lot of fun. There will be plenty of stubbing a toe. You guys see mostly the episodes that are worthwhile for me to show, right? We're not going to show sieges very often like that, where we stub our toe, have our siege blown up, and then get beat down on the ladder, get beat down on the walls there like a bitch. I'm not gonna show too many of those. Of course, we do show our losses, but the campaign is gonna be raw, especially when I stream. You guys are gonna see all kinds of calamitous failures. You guys will probably have situations where my cat jumps on my lap, and the next thing you know, like the whole stream fails, or something else horrific happens. But anyways, I appreciate you fellas. I'm gonna wrap this up. Where can you get good weapons and armor? Some of these questions, they would take 2 weeks to answer, and I will do my very best at the end of episodes as often as I can. Today I have literally like 5 minutes, so what I'm going to do here, we are going to tell this music to chill the fuck out, take it a little bit easier with the loud music, and that's feedback, of course, I want to hear. If the music is too loud, I want to get the right balance. I love music in the background. I don't want just my grisly voice being the only thing you guys hear, so we will try to moderate that. I'll spend a few minutes here answering questions, or you guys can make fun of me and shit like that before I got a dash. But again, this was just a trial run here, so things will get better, fellas. The tactics will get better. They will become more coherent. And hopefully there's a really interesting campaign where we can entertain you guys, maybe do a little bit of tutorials for the fellas who are still learning, do some F-bombs. You guys can do plenty of F-bombs in the chat. I didn't actually know that part was enabled, but we're still sort of fiddling around with the different settings, right? I think all this chat will be readable like a day or something after this stream finishes. You can't read it right away. Like I think as soon as the stream ends, you guys can't chat anymore or something like that. All of this stuff is totally new to me, so we will doing the best I can. I'm planning on all of the streams to be not monetized, right? I'm starting the monetization process because this big business fucking corporation motherfuckers are advertising the shit out of our channel. I figure we might as well fucking pick up some of the revenue here, help pay for some of the music licenses that I'm buying for the background music and stuff like that. But all of these live episodes, I'm going to try to do monetization free, I guess is the right word for it. I have some control to say don't monetize here. Now, YouTube's already given me messages that say basically they reserve the right to advertise, so look out for that. There's going to be inevitably some commercials that I have no control over, right? We are playing on YouTube, Google's process here, right? Their platform, and so we're sort of beholden to these mega tech corporations, right? Everybody's got a phone, and we all fucking have Google Maps and shit like that. These companies make us live with them. So be that as it may, we're going to try to limit the commercials. Hopefully there's not a bunch of fucking big banners and ads popping up on this shit. We'll try to keep this free 99, right, fellas? So I appreciate you guys. Say, fellow Conseil, you want bigger, better? Okay. I see some tips on there, but not too many questions. More metal music, he says. We will definitely try to mix in some different music. Of course, I'm dealing with different licensing. That's part of the reason you guys hear sort of fuzzy audio in some of the songs. I've got a couple copyright strikes for some of my episodes, including, unfortunately, some of the episodes that are coming up. Some of them I've just decided essentially to turn over the episode to these corporations. And what I mean by that is they're fully authorized to advertise away, and I have no control over it. They get all the revenue. It feels kind of gross. I'm making these episodes for you guys, and then big corporations are profiting. But that's how it works. This is the music industry. Google, of course, is beholden to the copyright holders and all the fucking lawyers. Apologize if you're a lawyer and stuff like that. Yeah, if you guys have music requests, feel free just to type them into the chat, type them into the comments after the episodes are available. I think you guys can actually access these live streams within a short period of time, and you can go leave actual comments. This is differentiated from the live chat, which is now the comments you can leave, and they should stay up forever, right? Unless I'm wrong about that. I think you guys can leave comments. So if you guys want to hear metal music, even specific tracks, throw it up there, and I will investigate whether or not it's going to be one of those ones where it's attached to a bunch of blood-sucking lawyers or not, and whether or not we can play it, or whether the whole thing gets taken down. I haven't had any like lethal copyright strikes where they essentially ban your account. I've been kind of skirting the edges of that, I think. But all of this is new to me, and it's bizarre to me that they are attacking my little tiny YouTube channel so aggressively. I mean, it's just big business, I guess. Why did you start playing Bannerlord? Man, that's an easy one. I'm a huge medieval history fan. My history knowledge is probably the greatest from about the 1400s to the 1800s. I fucking love castles. I used to play, I think it was called Stronghold or Stronghold 2, where you build your own castles, and I would play that religiously, all the tactics and strategies and angles. And I'm a big fan of Vauban, the engineer, the French engineer from the late 1600s. I just think it's a fascinating amalgamation of mathematics, human psychology, and then cross bolts to the face, right? It's a really interesting combination. And of course, Bannerlord is an amazing game, right? There's all kinds of flaws. We all know that. But the combat system is pretty damn good. The mods make it even better. And tactically, it's one of the most fluid, flexible games out there. And I think, of course, a lot of the guys on the channel are discovering that you can have battles where, for sure, you lose if you don't take control, right? If you're just in sergeant mode, you lose. And if you run tactics, you don't just win, you devastate the enemy. And I think that's really cool, right? It's kind of like chess. You can learn in a day, but it takes years to master. All right, so I'm going to wrap this chat up. I appreciate all you fellas. I can't tell how many people. It says there, I don't know. It said 41. It actually says 32 live streaming now. Okay, you guys are in here pretty thick. I appreciate you fellas. It's astonishing to me that guys want to hang out and chat on Bannerlord. I've watched a few live streams of Strat Gaming Guides, and he had like 200 people on one of his episodes. So this is all new to me, but right on, right? Fellow tactical enthusiasts, I appreciate you fellas. We will definitely do historical anecdotes. We will try to do our best to show you guys good tactics, and hopefully one hell of an epic Aserai campaign, right? We're going to have sandstorms. We're going to have treachery. We'll probably have some beheadings. The advertisers don't like that shit. That's one way to keep ads off, is if I behead some guys. Evidently, like Nike shoes don't want to have an advertisement right after a beheading or something like that in the game. That's kind of an interesting way for me to get rid of the ads. But we will continue to explore this. So I'm going to wrap this up with my usual spiel. Please hit like and all that stuff. I appreciate you fellas. I was going to say subscribe, but I imagine most of you guys have already subscribed already. With all that said, fellas, I will see you